typical Indians, talkative Indians, we debate a lot, but Bajpayee took the final decision. And lo and behold, how India would play the role. After the series of nuclear weapons explosion, with open hand he said, we are prepared for a nuclear weapons free world. When we did not have the bomb, the Chinese would come and say, don't even talk to us on nuclear issues. You are not a nuclear power. But today when he said, we have the capacity, we have gone nuclear, we are prepared to have a nuclear free world. That is leadership. That is leadership. First forward. Today, I have a lot many things to say, but I'm looking at the clock also. Today, when you look India, it looks so different. I have already given hints of India's achievement in agriculture and even industry, even in the IT sector, even in the nuclear and missile field. But today, yet again, India is playing an important leadership role in the world. I'm sure all of you have heard about the Global South. Most of the Global South at one time were part of the non-aligned movement. Today, non-aligned movement is no longer there. Only naam ke vaste. But Global South is so important. Where, look at India's narrative. Number one, India is saying that the globalization process, which was supported by the Western capitalist countries, now they are opposing it because they did not benefit from it too much and other countries came up. India says, we want a global south sensitive globalization. Today, India's DPI, digital public infrastructure, we are negotiating with very many countries, including Singapore, UAE and other countries. It is a big success story of taking the welfare measures to the people so directly. Today, India, which was at one time having lots of problems on public health issues, when the pandemic hit us so badly, not just India, but the entire world, who provided vaccine? Vaccine Maitri. India provided vaccines and medicines to hundreds of countries. Can you name a second country? Difficult. This is today's India. Not only that, we know that we have poverty in India. We know that we have some problems of development still. But then, when you look at the world, what India is doing, it is not common knowledge. It is not taught in the classrooms. It's only some researchers who will be doing it. India has the international technical and economic cooperation with hundreds of countries. 600 projects plus are going on in those countries. India and the UN Development Fund, it has 78 projects in 54 countries. At one time, India was an aid recipient. Today, India is a donor country. Not only donor to Afghanistan, but very many countries we are giving assistance. What a big change. At one time, we were blackmailed on the nuclear issues. In the 71 war, when the war was going on, the Americans sent their 7th Fleet to Bay of Bengal to warn India. Today, India is a nuclear weapon power. Of course, the Americans put a lot of sanctions on India. It did not take too much for Bill Clinton to realize that India, a democratically resilient country, an economic powerhouse, potentially an economic powerhouse, if it goes nuclear, so what? If the US could live with the Soviet bomb, Chinese bomb, why not Indian bomb? So the same person who imposed sanctions, he came to India, spoke to the parliamentarians, and he said, India is a great civilization. Why should I decide what you are going to do with your bomb? You are intelligent guys, you do it. What a big change from the nuclear blackmail to a responsible nuclear weapon power today. It's a very big change. So whether it is in the matter of economics, aid, military capability or political profile, Madam speaker, mentioned one point about the current Prime Minister and his contribution. Here, let me add something as a footnote. People may have differences with him on issues, but his personality in conducting diplomacy is beyond dispute. How an Indian Prime Minister in the contemporary world would add substance and style to conduct of diplomacy, किसी को सीखना है तो मोदी जी से सीखिए. For example, Prime Minister of Japan comes to India. He went with him to feed the fish. Macho ko khileva misigiri. That was symbolic, but that was a substantive diplomacy as well, leadership rapprochement. The Australian Prime Minister comes. Come, let's take a selfie. He goes to Washington DC, and there he co-authors an article in Wall Street Journal on opportunities available in India for investment, along with Barack Obama. Manmohan Singh was a great guy, great economist. He was also Prime Minister. He never wrote any article there. But when Prime Minister Modi ji goes and writes it, it rang a bell there. So there is substance and there is symbol. And then when the joint statement was issued in Washington DC, India, US, you know the title? Chalein Saath Saath. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Chalein Saath Saath. It was fantastic, right? There have been so many prime ministers before him. Every year on 26th of Republic Day, we have a foreign visitor as a chief guest. Can you believe that even a Pakistani leader was there at one time? Iranian leader was there at one time. The Chinese leader was there at one time. Nobody thought, the US being one of the oldest and powerful democracies, वहाँ का भी कोई president आए और यहाँ chief guest बने. It occurred to Prime Minister Modi. And Barack Obama was invited as the chief guest. It needs a lot of thinking out of the box. No Prime Minister of India ever went to the South Pacific Islands. Prime Minister Modi did that. No Prime Minister of India went to very many places in Seychelles and small islands in Indian Ocean. He did that. It was not just to add to his credit or get Guinness Book of World Record. All those steps were taken strategically. There are many small countries ignored by others. He would make the first visit. In his own inaugural session, when all the South Asian prime ministers were invited, that was a big change. When the ASEAN 10 leaders were invited at one go, it's a big change. When India and African Union meeting took place, very big change.